The massive shadow ships descended through Earth's atmosphere on a Tuesday morning. They came from the Velthari Empire, a civilization that had conquered 17 star systems and reduced countless species to extinction. Their message was simple. Humanity had been selected for the grand exhibition. One human would represent their species in the ancient tradition of combat. If that human won, Earth would be granted protected status for 1,000 years. If they lost, humanity would join the long list of species that no longer existed. The Velthari found it amusing to hold the games on Earth itself. They studied human history and discovered the Roman Colosseum. The ancient structure fascinated them. Here was proof that humans understood the beauty of blood sport. The aliens rebuilt the Colosseum to its original glory and then enhanced it with their technology. Force fields replaced the old walls. Medical drones floated above to keep combatants alive long enough to suffer properly. The sand beneath was imported from a dead world where nothing would ever grow again. 50 gladiators would enter the arena. 49 came from conquered worlds. Each was the deadliest warrior their species had produced. The Crethan was 8 feet tall with 4 arms ending in claws that could cut through steel. The Marathi were twin fighters who shared a telepathic bond and moved as one killing machine. The Zephyrian was covered in poisonous spines and could spit acid 20 meters. Every single one had killed thousands. Every single one had survived impossible odds. The 50th gladiator was Marcus Chun. He was 32 years old. He had been a history teacher in a small town before the ships arrived. The selection process was random. A lottery chosen by the Velthari themselves to ensure fairness. When Marcus's name appeared on every screen across the planet, he had been eating breakfast with his daughter. She was 7 years old and did not understand why her father suddenly stopped moving. 3 months of training followed. The best fighters on Earth tried to prepare Marcus for what was coming. He learned to use every weapon the Velthari allowed. Swords, spears, axes, and maces. He built muscle and speed. He studied videos of his opponents and memorized their weaknesses. But everyone knew the truth. A history teacher from a small town could not defeat warriors who had been killing since before humanity discovered fire. The morning of the games arrived under a gray sky. 2 billion people watched through screens. Another billion stood outside the Colosseum in Rome, staring at the force fields that surrounded it. The Velthari Emperor himself sat in a floating throne above the arena. His purple skin gleamed under the artificial lights. His 3 eyes watched everything with cold amusement. Marcus walked through the tunnel toward the arena. His armor was simple leather. His weapon was a Roman gladius, the short sword that had once conquered an empire. He had requested it specifically. If he was going to die, he wanted to die holding something human. Something that connected him to the warriors who had fought in this same sand 2,000 years ago. The gates opened. 50 gladiators spread across the arena. Marcus found himself near the eastern wall, surrounded by creatures that could kill him in seconds. The Crethan was already staring at him with hunger in its yellow eyes. It saw him as an easy first kill, something to warm up with before facing real opponents. The horn sounded. The killing began. Marcus did not charge forward like the others. He moved backward instead. His back found the wall, and he crouched low with his gladius raised. This was his first strategy. Let the stronger fighters kill each other while he survived in the margins. It was not glorious. It was not brave. But it was intelligent. The arena became chaos. The Crethan tore through 3 opponents in the first minute. Green blood and blue blood, and substances that were not blood at all, painted the sand. The Marathi twins danced through combat like artists. The Zephyrian melted the face of a 6-legged creature and laughed as it died screaming. A small reptilian gladiator spotted Marcus hiding by the wall. It was fast and desperate. Its long tail whipped toward his head. Marcus ducked under it and drove his gladius through the creature's throat. The blade punched out the back of its neck. Marcus pulled it free and watched the body fall. His first kill. His hands were shaking. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky. Bodies covered the sand until medical drones had to remove them just to make room for more fighting. Marcus continued his strategy of avoidance. He killed only when necessary. A wounded warrior tried to use him as an easy target and died for the mistake. Another came at him in desperation and met the same end. Marcus discovered something about himself that day. He was not a natural killer, but he could become one when his daughter's face flashed through his mind. By sunset, only 15 gladiators remained. The crowd had gone silent. This was longer than any grand exhibition in Valkyrie history. Usually, the strongest fighters eliminated everyone within the first few hours. But these 15 were all survivors. They had learned from watching each other. They had become careful. Marcus was bleeding from a wound on his arm. His armor had been torn away on one side. Exhaustion pulled at every muscle in his body, but he was still breathing. That was more than most had expected. The Cretan still lived. It had killed at least 12 opponents on its own. One of its 4 arms hung useless at its side, but the other 3 were still deadly. The Marathi twins had been reduced to 1. The surviving twin moved slower now without its telepathic partner. The Zephyrian had lost most of its spines, but could still spit acid. Night fell. The Valkyrie activated lights around the arena. This was entertainment they had not expected. Their emperor leaned forward on his throne with genuine interest for the first time in centuries. Marcus made his move when everyone expected him to continue hiding. He ran straight at the Cretan. The crowd gasped. The alien warrior laughed and raised its claws to tear this foolish human apart. Marcus dropped to his knees and slid under the killing blow. His gladius carved through the back of the Cretan's legs. The massive creature collapsed forward. Marcus was already on his feet. He drove the sword through the base of the alien's skull before it could rise. The arena went completely silent. A human had killed the deadliest fighter in the grand exhibition. The Valkyrie Emperor stood from his throne for the first time in 300 years. 8 gladiators remained after that. They all looked at Marcus differently now. He was no longer prey. He was a threat. 3 of them decided to attack him together. They came from different angles with perfect coordination. Marcus smiled and kept his back to the wall again. He let them get close. Then he threw sand into the eyes of the first attacker and used its body as a shield against the second. The third received his gladius through its heart. The 2 blinded creatures killed each other in their confusion. Marcus retrieved his sword and cleaned it on a dead body's clothing. He was beyond exhaustion now. He was operating on something deeper, something ancient that lived in the bones of every human. The refusal to die. Dawn came on the second day. 4 gladiators remained. Marcus, the surviving Marathi twin, the Zephyrian, and a creature made of stone and fury that had not spoken a single word throughout the entire games. The Marathi attacked the stone creature and died for its aggression. Its telepathic scream echoed across the arena as it fell. Now 3 remained. The stone creature turned toward the Zephyrian. They fought brutally while Marcus watched from a distance. The Zephyrian's acid splashed against stone skin and did nothing. The stone creature's fists eventually reduced the poison spitter to a broken mess on the sand. 2 gladiators. 1 human. 1 monster made of living rock. Marcus walked to the center of the arena. His gladius felt heavy in his hand. The stone creature approached slowly. It had no facial expressions, no visible weakness. It was simply death walking on 2 legs. The creature swung at Marcus. He dodged. It swung again. He dodged again. This continued for what felt like hours, but was only minutes. Marcus was faster. He was smaller, but his gladius could not pierce that stone skin. Then Marcus remembered something. A lecture he had given to his students about Roman gladiators. How they had faced opponents in armor so thick that normal weapons could not penetrate it. How they had learned to find the gaps. the joints, the soft places. He watched the stone creature move. He studied it with the same focus he had once used to study ancient texts. There, behind the knee, the stone was thinner where it needed to bend. And there, under the arm, another joint, another weakness. Marcus let the creature corner him against the wall. He heard the crowd screaming for his death. He felt the force field humming behind his back. The stone creature raised both fists for a killing blow. Marcus dove between its legs. His gladius found the back of its knee and carved through the thinner stone. The creature stumbled. Marcus was already rising. He drove the sword into the joint under its arm and twisted. Something cracked inside the monster's body. It fell to one knee. Marcus climbed onto its back. The creature thrashed and tried to throw him off. He held on with strength he did not know he had. His gladius found the gap between the stone plates protecting its neck. He pushed with everything left inside him. The blade sank deep. The stone creature shuddered once and went still. Silence filled the Colosseum. 2 billion humans watching from screens around the world stopped breathing. The Valkyrie Emperor stared down at the arena with all 3 eyes wide. Marcus Chun stood alone in the sand. Blood and dust covered his body. His gladius dripped with fluids from a dozen different species. He looked up at the Emperor and raised his sword. The crowd exploded. Humans screamed with joy that could be heard across continents. The earth itself seemed to shake with relief and pride and disbelief. The Emperor descended from his throne. He walked through the sand and stopped in front of Marcus. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Then the Emperor did something no one had ever seen before. He bowed his head. Earth received its 1,000 years of protection. The Valkyrie Empire added humanity to a very short list. Species that were not to be touched. Species that had earned respect through blood. Marcus went home to his daughter. She ran into his arms and did not let go for 3 days. He never spoke publicly about what happened in the arena. When reporters asked how a history teacher had defeated the deadliest warriors in the galaxy, he gave the same answer every time. He said he had remembered that Romans never stopped fighting, and neither would he. The Colosseum still stands today. The Valkyrie cleaned away the blood and removed their technology. They left it exactly as it had been before they arrived. A monument, a reminder. The place where humanity proved that even the smallest species could survive the darkness of the universe. And somewhere among the stars, the Valkyrie tell stories to their children about the human gladiator who would not die. They use it as a warning. Some species look weak. Some species seem easy to conquer. But some species carry fire in their hearts that cannot be extinguished. Humanity was such a species, and the universe would never forget it.